Section 3. You will hear a conversation between a peer tutor and an engineering student who needs help with a project. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 24. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 24.
Hi, John. Thanks for seeing me today. I'm really struggling with my project. I have to come up with a design for a water treatment system, and I'm really not sure what I'm expected to do.
Well, as peer tutors, we've been taught to follow a process in these tutorials, okay? The first step is to look closely at the task instructions.
That sounds good. I'm also... well, we've been told to do some research, but I don't know where to start.
It's always hard to start with. We've got about 45 minutes today. That should give us some time to go over it. Have you done much research before?
No. This is my first project like this, and I'm really stressing out about it. I went to a seminar about research at the start of the year, but I've forgotten most of it.
Well, that's fine, because the next step in our tutorial will be to consider some common research strategies that you can use to get started. With engineering, a lot of the projects you do are practical, so you can think about how you can access other people's write-ups of similar projects.
Yes, that sounds useful. How do I find those?
Well, there's always the online databases, but you need to know what search terms to use. So, can you think of any useful terms?
Cameroon, I guess? And maybe grey water?
Yes, good. But those might not give you many hits. What about the type of research? I've always found it helpful to search for case studies, you know? There's probably a whole lot of those on systems set up for other villages in developing countries that you could look at. I've got a couple here actually. They're on different topics, but we can look at the structure and develop some useful ways to focus your research. Is there anything else you'd like to look at today?
I can't think of anything right now. That all sounds good.
Great. Then the next step is to come up with an action plan. How long have you got?
To finish the project? 4 weeks, I think. It's due on the 6th.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 25 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 25 to 30.
Right. Let's start with the project requirements then. You've got them there? Great. Let's see. Tell me what you understand about the task.
So we need to create a system for grey water treatment so that we can minimise the strain on the overloaded water supply in a village in Cameroon.
That's right.
But I don't get the details about the type of system and what it needs to be used for.
Okay. We'll come back to the type of system in a minute. It says here grey water. Have you learnt about grey water?
No, I missed the lecture.
Okay. So it's the water we use in our houses, but not in the toilet. The water that goes down the drains, not into sewage. It can be recycled because it's relatively clean. So what might the water treatment system try to do?
Treat it and direct it somewhere else?
Exactly. Why treat it?
'Cause... oh, right. I get it. 'Cause it's still going to have bacteria in it. That's why it needs to be treated.
That's right. And then when it's treated, what could it be used for?
Something else, like irrigation in gardens?
Yes, there are other practical uses too, inside the house.
For toilet systems? Oh, what about for laundry?
Yes, exactly. That's a good example.
Okay, that's pretty clear now. Thanks.
Great. Now, let's think about the type of research you might need to do.
I'll need to look at different types of water treatment systems, so I know the pros and cons of each one.
Good. Where would you look first?
The internet?
Yes, but be careful. Remember, you're likely to find a lot of biased websites. You know, manufacturers wanting to advertise their brands. It might be better to use the engineering library.
I'm not too confident about using the library, to be honest. It's so hard finding the right resources.
It's often about choosing the best search terms to put into the catalogue search field.
Yeah, I try to do that. Like water treatment?
That might be too broad.
Grey water treatment systems?
That's more like it. And you'll need to search for systems designed for residential, not commercial use. There's a big difference.
I usually end up borrowing a massive pile of books, then get home and find they're useless.
Try reading through the contents before you take them out. Flick through to relevant sections. Often it helps to read parts, not all the way through, but...
Just to get the main idea.
That's right. Oh, and I see this as an EWB project. Have you seen the website? It might have some exemplars of the winning designs from last year's competition.
No, I saw that and didn't know what EWB meant.
Engineering Without Borders is what it stands for.
That is the end of section 3. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 4.